Good day and welcome to AGK's Vinyl Life. I'm your host, Anthony K. And today's Tuesday, November 17th, 2020. And on this week's episode, I'm going to be showing you albums from my personal top 25 female solo artists. That's right, my personal top 25 female solo artists. And the reason I decided to do this video is because I realized something when I filmed my last two videos, last week's video and the weeks before video. When I filmed those two videos, it was after watching them and after making those videos, I realized that I had not really shown many female artists in those videos. And those videos were my favorite artists from A to Z. And where I showed one or two artists from each letter of the alphabet from A through Z. And I realized that I didn't really show hardly any female artists. And I guess that's because the subject of that particular video and the rules I set for myself making that video, those two videos, was that they were artists, they were go-to artists that I always come back to and play like comfort food, artists that had been with me for most of my life and had amassed quite a number of records in my collection. And when I was younger, I didn't really listen to very many female artists at all. I was very much into the prog and the metal and the rock, and I really didn't listen to very many female artists at all, solo artists, other than the couple I mentioned in those videos, and maybe some bands that were fronted by female singers, but really did not listen to a lot back in those days. But as I grew up, I grew to like female artists much more in the more recent years. Certainly in probably the last 30 years, I have grown to like a lot of female artists in the last 30 years, more so in the last 20 years, and even more so in the last 10 years. Because as we get older, our musical tastes, they don't change, but they expand, they broaden. You welcome in more styles of music, more artists, and you're always, listening to newer artists, or at least I hope you are all out there listening to newer artists, because there's so much wonderful new music out there. And I've never been one to get stuck in a genre, stuck in a decade. I have always listened to music through all of the decades and always explored new artists. So yes, over the years, my taste for music has improved, I would say, and I've become more accepting of other genres and other artists. And certainly a lot of female artists I have taken a liking to in the last, like I said, 10, 20, 30 years. So I realized I was amiss in those last two videos showing female artists and not giving them enough love. So in this video, I'm going to show you what I consider my top 25 female artists, solo artists. Because even though I haven't amassed as many albums by these artists, they are definitely favorites of mine, even if I only have a couple albums by this artist. And some of these artists are very new, and I know in the years to come, I'll probably be buying more music from these artists as they release it. So here we are. And this pile of records that I'm going to show on these artists are strictly solo artists, not bands that are fronted by a female artist. That will be another video for another time, where I will maybe show my favorite bands fronted by female singers. Well, this is solo artists, all genres, all decades. Let's get into it. Let's not waste any more time, because I've got 25 to go through here, plus a couple of honorable mentions. So let's get on with it. And these aren't in any particular order. They're not ranked. This isn't my number 1 female artist or my number 25 female artist. These are just 25 of my favorite female artists, my personal 25. And starting things off is, as the album says, the fabulous Miss Shirley Bassey. And the reason I put her in as one of my favorite artists is because, as many of you know, and I've talked about it in many videos, the James Bond soundtracks were one of the reasons I got into music in the first place. And I've said it many times before. And one of the first records I ever owned in my life was the soundtrack to Diamonds Are Forever, which of course featured Miss Shirley Bassey. She's a dam now. Shirley Bassey singing the title track, Diamonds Are Forever. And Shirley Bassey would go on to sing not two, but three. And the only artist to sing more than one James Bond theme for a movie. She actually sang three: Goldfinger, Diamonds Are Forever, and Moonraker. So, of course, Shirley Bassey, a fantastic vocalist. And because of those James Bond theme songs, I did get into Shirley Bassey. And I've got quite a few records by her. And this is one of her earliest. This is her first record when she came over to Columbia Records. This goes way back. I don't have a date on this. I think this is late 50s, early 60s. But a really great spin. This is called The Fabulous Shirley Bassey with the Jeff Love and his orchestra. And there's some, there's some classic standards on here. A Foggy Day in London Town. I've Got You Under My Skin, Crimea River, April in Paris, I've Never Been in Love Before, and many more. Miss Shirley Bassey, one of my favorite solo female artists for sure in the top 25. Another, and now we're going to continue with another, and also another, I guess you would call jazz vocalist, singer, Nina Simone, who I discovered much more recently. In the last 10 years, I actually discovered Nina Simone. I had never really explored her music before, but have gotten very much into it, and I have quite a few of her albums now. And this one I've never shown before. This is Nina Simone at Town Hall, and I believe this was pressed on a blue vinyl, is it? Yeah, this one's pressed on a blue vinyl. And Nina Simone, a fabulous jazz singer, pianist, and jazz singer. Really, really have grown to like her music a lot. And like I said, again, this is Miss Nina Simone at Town Hall, which was originally released... I wish they put the dates on. Yeah, this was originally released in 1959. Nina Simone at the Town Hall. Number 3 in my pile of jazz female artists, not jazz artists, but female artists, and another jazz artist. And this lady here is much earlier. I discovered her just a couple of years ago, and she's only released, I think, 3 or 4 albums so far, and they've all been in the 2010s. And she's a Brazilian jazz singer from Brazil, a Brazilian jazz singer. Her name is Karen Souza. That's right, or Karen Souza. And this is her Essentials 2 album, one of her earlier albums. I think it's her second album, maybe third album. But this is Essentials 2. And this is a great spin. Karen Souza, check her out. And she does some great covers on here, like Wicked Game, Dreams, Can't Help Falling in Love, Everybody Hurts, Never Tear Us Apart, Twist in My Sobriety, Shape of My Heart, and more. Karen Souza, a little bit of lounge jazz by a fabulous Brazilian jazz singer. Number 3 here. That was number 3. Now number 4, we're going to move out of those were mostly jazz singers there. Now we're going to be moving into more of the pop and rock singers. And the first one, and this is one I did mention, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time with her. This is an artist I did mention in my favorite artists from A to Z video. And I did mention her, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time, but I am going to show you something that I never showed before. This is Olivia Newton-John, one of my favorite singers of all time, absolutely hands down. And this is First Impressions. And this was a UK only release. And the reason I'm showing this one is it has a lot of songs that were never released on any of the North American Olivia Newton-John albums. This was strictly a UK release, and at least half of the songs, and it was kind of like a best of sort of thing. And half the songs on here were from her first couple albums that we did get here domestically in North America. But the other half of the songs on here don't appear on any albums that came out in North America. And there's some fabulous songs on here, like Music Makes My Day, What Is Life, the George Harrison song, a fabulous version of that. Everything I Own, another fabulous cover song there. Winterwood, among others. Olivia Newton-John, First Impressions, a really great spin. Like I said, this was a UK import on EMI Records. Olivia Newton-John, First Impression. Okay, another one of my favorite artists here. I think we're at number 5 now. And like I said, these aren't in any particular order. Number 5 in my pile of solo female artists is Miss Pat Benatar. And I decided to show her debut album. I do have most of her albums. I think I have all of her albums on vinyl, or at least, 90% of her albums on vinyl. But this is her original debut album from back in 1979, was it? Yeah, 1979. Her debut album, Pat Benatar, In the Heat of the Night. I could have shown many others, but this one I think is, you know, sort of granted the status of legendary now with the incredible Heartbreaker on it, I Need a Lover, If You Think You Know How to Love Me, In the Heat of the Night, My Clone Sleeps Alone. This was just a fantastic album. We Live for Love, Rated X, a great cover of Alan Parsons Project's Don't Let It Show, and more. Pat Benatar, In the Heat of the Night. And I believe that was number 5 in my pile. Continuing on, our next artist here was originally a front woman for the band The Go-Go's, and then she moved out on her own and made quite a few albums. Not a big library from her, but I really, really liked her sound. Beautiful woman, beautiful voice, had some great songs. Belinda Carlisle, and this particular one I'm showing is called The Collection. It's a best of, a 2 LP best of Belinda Carlisle's music. The front singer, front woman, I guess you call it, from the Go-Go's. And this had some fantastic songs on here. We Want the Same Things, Heaven is a Place on Earth, Live Your Life, Be Free, Leave a Light On. These were all big hits. I Get Weak, Runaway Horses, Half the World, Do You Feel Like I Feel? So many great. La Luna, great spin. Belinda Carlisle, another one of my favorite female solo artists. Next up is a newer artist from the last 10 years, and I have all her works now, and I've shown her most recent album, I know, in a previous video, but I'm going back and showing her first one in this video, and she is Tuvlo, and this is Queen of the Clouds, which spawned, it was her debut album, and this is the expanded version of her debut album, and it featured 2 big hits, Habits, Stay High, and Not on Drugs, which there's remixes of on this album as well, because it's an expanded version. Tuvlo, Queen of the Clouds, and she's from the last 10 years or so, and like I said, I have all her other albums. Ladywood is another fantastic spin. Tuvlo, Queen of the Clouds, another one of my favorite female solo artists. Next up is one that I think everybody probably has something by her in their collection, or should have. She's been around a long time, continues to make music to this day, though I don't think her music in the last 10 years or so is anywhere as good as her earlier music. And I'm going back, right back to the beginning. I've shown albums by her before, but I'm going back right to the beginning to her debut album, and this is a Record Store Day Japanese picture disc version of her debut album, Madonna. And this is her first album, simply originally titled Madonna, which of course spawned the massive hit Holiday. And so yeah, Madonna definitely in there. One of the greatest pop divas of all time, hands down. And like I said, this is her original first album, an absolute classic, Madonna, self-titled. Another artist that I like a lot, who's risen in the last 10 years or so, is Katy Perry. And this is an album from a few years ago. This was her Teenage Dream album, and this is a recent reissue, expanded reissue. Once again, this is the Teenage Dream, what do they call this? The Complete Collection, yes. So Teenage Dream, and this is an expanded version of her Teenage Dream album with extra tracks on it. Teenage Dream, another great album. Katy Perry, definitely one of the best artists of the last 10 years, female solo artists of the last 10 years. Another great pop diva. And this is a great spin. And this was really cool. This was actually really cool vinyl because it was a picture disc, and they sound great. Let's not be knocking the picture discs here. And the way these were done is there's 2 different colors. I'm just going to show one. And they were done like peppermint candy. Like little peppermint candy pastels. One's red and one's blue. So they have Katy Perry, Teenage Dream. Another absolutely great spin from a great modern day solo artist. And there was even a booklet in here. Katy Perry, Teenage Dream, The Complete, actually the Complete Confection, it was called, The Complete Confection. Next up, another artist of the last 15 or so years, I believe it is. She's very popular now. I've shown her Lover album from last year, which I absolutely loved. I loved Lover. And she's just released a new album, which I haven't gotten yet, which I will get one day. But I went back to the album before Lover, and this is Taylor Swift, and this is her Reputation album. Taylor Swift, Reputation. Another great spin from Taylor Swift. Definitely one of the great female solo artists of the last 15 years. And again, this one also was done on some really good sounding picture discs. For 2 discs, it's a 2-disc set. All the pictures are different on the albums, and they sound good. So people don't knock those picture discs. You need to take a chance. Try some of these new modern picture discs. They sound absolutely fine. Taylor Swift, Reputation. Another one of my favorite solo female artists, and I have most of her work. I don't have her really early stuff, but I have most of her albums, and I really enjoy Taylor Swift. Good stuff. And continuing with my top female artists of all time and favorites, this woman was one of the members of the Runaways. That's right, the Runaways. Not Sherry Curry, not Joan Jett, but the guitarist Lita Ford. And this is one of her more recent albums, and I have most of Lita Ford's albums. Fabulous guitarist, and she had quite a few big hits back in the mid-late 80s, early 90s. But this is a much more recent album, and the reason I decided to show this, other than it's on this beautiful blue vinyl once again, the reason why I decided to show this particular one by Lita Ford is this particular album comes with the CD as well, which is kind of nice. And rather than a download card, they give you the actual, physical CD in here, somewhere in there. Physical CD in there. But what she did with this album is all the songs on this album, she actually recorded back in the 80s, and she put them in a time capsule. That's right, she recorded them in the 80s, put them in a time capsule, and pulled them out later in 2016 to release on this album. Kind of an interesting concept. You record 10 songs, or 11 songs, 11 songs, record 11 songs, lock them away in a time capsule and say, I'm going to release these, 20 years from now, which is what she did, or 30 years from now in this case, something like that. But Lita Ford, another one of my favorite all-time solo female artists, originally one of the members of the Runaways, out on her own now for many years, and another great performer. Next up is another female artist who's risen in the last 10 years, a young lady, and I'd gotten into this artist mainly because of my daughter. It was the first artist that my daughter sort of fell in love with, and I took her to see all her shows, and you can't help but enjoy the music. And she's definitely grown up. Her Rare album this year was very grown up, really great album. Even her Revival album of a couple of years ago was very good. She's definitely an up-and-coming and continuing to grow and continuing to get popular artist, and that is Selena Gomez. But this is one of her earliest albums. I believe this was her second album when she was with the group The Scene, and it was Selena Gomez and The Scene. So this was her second effort out way back 2012, I'm guessing. 2010, actually, 2010, this one. So this is 10 years old now, believe it or not. Selena Gomez and The Scene, A Year Without Rain. And it's a great spin. There was a couple of big hits on here, Round and Round, A Year Without Rain. What else was a big hit on here? I can't remember. But Live Like There's No Tomorrow is a great track. Selena Gomez and The Scene, and this was a Urban Outfitters, and it's on a really cool splatter vinyl. But yeah, I like me some Selena Gomez, thanks to my daughter. Great stuff. Next up in my pile of favorite female solo artists, a lady that needs no introduction, as I talk about her many, many, many times. In fact, another one that I talked about in my videos in the last 2 weeks of my favorite artists of all time. She originally was the front woman for the band Transvision Vamp, which I'm wearing the t-shirt for. She was the front woman, Miss Wendy James, who then, after 3 Transvision Vamp albums, they broke up and she's gone solo. She's currently working on her 7th solo release. But this goes back, and this is her 4th solo release from 2012. I believe this one came out 2010. And it is I Came Here to Blow Minds, Miss Wendy James. I Came Here to Blow Minds. And this was a website only, her website only version on a fabulous pink vinyl. It's a pink and black splatter, actually. A pink and black splatter vinyl. Website exclusive. And this is very much in the vein of her Transvision Vamp music. After she did Transvision Vamp, she did an album with Elvis Costello. And then she renamed herself Racine and did 2 albums under the name Racine. And then she came back with this album, I Came Here to Blow Minds, Miss Wendy James. Another one of my favorite female solo performers of all time, still making fabulous music. The next artist I also showed in those favorite artist videos, so I'm going to be real quick about it. Another artist from the last 10 or 11 years, another favorite of mine, Lady Gaga. And this is, of course, her debut album, which I have shown, I believe, before, but not in detail. Lady Gaga, her original first album, The Fame, which had incredible songs on it. And this is a recent re-release on a beautiful kind of teal-colored vinyl. Lady Gaga, The Fame, definitely one of the best solo artists out there in the world right now. Her new album from this year is incredible. Lady Gaga, a force to be reckoned with, this woman. Incredible. And another one, and I get a lot of jokes in the vinyl community about liking this artist, but I love my pop divas. I mean, look at all those pop divas I've just shown. I love my pop divas. I love all types of music, and this pop diva is, just as important as Lady Gaga or Madonna is. Definitely, she's had, I think it's 9 studio albums to date, and she's going through some troubles in life, and I hope they sort themselves out, and she's back recording more music for us. But it's Britney Spears, and no one can deny that she's had a massive string of hits, and I decided to show on this one her 6th album, entitled Circus, from I think 2008, Circus, which of course spawned the massively successful Womanizer. Britney Spears, Circus, an absolutely great spin. Another one of my top 25 female solo artists of all time. Next up, another woman who really doesn't need any introduction. She's been around since the early 90s and continues to make music to this day. A fabulous performer in the kind of R&B vein. Mariah Carey. And she's got some great stuff out. And I have quite a few albums by Mariah. Her Christmas album is one of the best-selling Christmas albums of all time. But this is Rainbow by Mariah Carey, and which was originally released in 1999. Spawned, the big hits on here were Heartbreaker and Thank God I Found You. She also does a great cover of Phil Collins' Against All Odds, Look at Me Now. Mariah Carey, Rainbow. And this is a very recent reissue. She's just in the process of reissuing all her catalog on vinyl. So Mariah Carey, Rainbow. Fabulous spin. And next up, a woman that I've talked about many times before and shown many times before. She's certainly from the last 10 years, and she is the most trending artist on Instagram. She is definitely probably the queen of the stack right now. And going forward, probably another one of the most important artists in the world right now. And she's got an incredible voice. I really like her. Took my daughter to see her in concert last year, and she really put on a fantastic show. I've got all her albums. I love her stuff. And I'm going to show actually an album I haven't shown before, and that's, of course, Ariana Grande. And this is her Thank You Next album from early last year. And this particular version of the album has an alternate cover than the regular version of Thank You Next has a black ring around this cover, whereas this has got the pink ring. And this is a very rare clear vinyl. I won't pull it out. This is a very rare clear vinyl pressing of that album. Thank You next, Ariana Grande. She's a great artist, and she just released a brand new album a couple weeks ago. And this is the alternate cover collector's edition of her new album called Positions, and I highly recommend this album. This is one sexy, slow, really fantastic groove. The more I listen to this album, the more I like it. It hasn't been released on vinyl yet, probably some months before it is released on vinyl, but I thought I'd show it to you. This came from her website, so it's an alternate cover version of her album, not the regular cover, but Positions, brand new from Ariana Grande, a great spin. Also up in my pop divas or female solo artists, whatever you want to say, of all time, another great artist, and I think I've shown this album before and I've talked about her briefly before, is Rhianna, and I hope to see a new album coming from her in the near future. But this is Rhianna, and this is her Loud album, an absolutely fantastic album. I really like Rhianna. I hope she gets some more music out there, because it's been a while since we've had an album from her. But yeah, Rhianna, Loud, fantastic artist from the last 20 years. Continuing on, another artist that I always really liked, and she popped up in the mid-'80s. I've shown her before, and I know she's got a box set of all her albums coming out very, very soon. It's Sade, spelt Sade, but pronounced Sade. And this is her best of compilation, the best of Sade, with, you know, such classics on it as, you know, Smooth, Your Love is King, Hang On to Your Love, Smooth Operator, The Sweetest Taboo, Is It a Crime, and more. I love Sade. She's a fantastic artist. And another must-have, one of my top 25 female solo artists of all time, Sade. The next artist up here is another one that needs no introduction, and I've shown her before briefly in various formats, and I'm going to show what's called the Remastered in Vinyl Volume 2. I also have Remastered in Vinyl Volume 1, but I decided to show Remastered in Vinyl Volume 2, and that's Kate Bush, another fantastic artist, Kate Bush. And this is Remastered in Vinyl Volume 2, which featured 3 of her albums. Remastered Volume 1 features 4 albums. This is Remastered Volume 2, which features 3 albums. In this one, you've got The Red Shoes, The Sensual World, and The Classic, one of the best albums, probably her best album, and certainly one of the greatest albums by any female solo artist of all time, Kate Bush's Hounds of Love, with the classic Running Up the Hill and Hounds of Love and Cloud Busting, among others. Kate Bush, Hounds of Love, and the Remastered in Vinyl box set, and which you can pick up on Amazon really, really cheap. I don't know if the price has gone back up, but I managed to get Remastered in Vinyl box volumes 1 and 2 super cheap a few months ago. So I don't know if they're still down there, but I highly recommend them. Beautifully remastered, beautiful sounding pressings. And we're getting down to the last few artists here in this pile. And first up we have 2 honorable mentions. We'll put them over here. First up we have another Canadian artist, showing some Canadian artists some love. And this is an artist that popped up 10 years ago. And I got her first album when it first came out. She's kind of one of those artists that does everything herself, writes the music, plays the music, incredibly talented, probably not as well known as she should be. She goes by the name Lights, a fantastic Canadian artist that you need to explore. I thought about showing her debut album on here today, but I decided to show you something a little different. And this was her last album she released, her last studio album, called Skin and Earth. And this is Skin and Earth right here by Lights, which was a concept album. That's right, this was a concept album by Lights, Canadian homegrown talent. And this whole album was a concept album. And as you can see, there's um, comic drawings in here, and she did all the artwork herself. So she drew the artwork herself. It's a concept album called Skin and Earth. It's really great. And not only did she make this album, but she made a set of 6 comic books that told the story of Skin and Earth to accompany it, that came out each month, one by one, month by month. It was a limited run comic series, 6-volume comic series that she drew and penciled. She painted, she did everything. She drew all the drawings, did all the work, and it tells the story of Skin and Earth in these 6 comic books. Beautifully drawn, absolutely fascinating story. And this accompanies the album. And there were 6 volumes. So to truly understand the album and really appreciate the album, you need these comics. And there was, issue 1, Lights, Skin and Earth. Issue 2. Issue 3. Issue 4. Issue 5. And the concluding issue, issue 6. Lights, Skin and Earth. A fabulous spin, a really interesting graphic novel, comic book, whatever you want to call it. Really highly, highly, highly recommend. And then the next artist up in my top 25 here is another Canadian independent artist who I've talked about before. Way, 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 way back when I first started this channel, I showed a video of me unboxing her winter-themed album, Ancient Winter, which I was involved in the process of making that album. I was her liaison here in Toronto for the vinyl pressing of the album, Ancient Winter, which is this album here. The artist's name is Lee, a symphonic metal artist. And this was her Celtic theme, so it's not metal. This one's more Celtic inspired. But a fabulous spin, an absolutely fabulous spin. Ancient Winter, which I was involved in the pressing of this album. I listened to the test pressings and helped liaison with the record company for her here in Toronto in the production of this album. And I actually have still 9 test pressings of this album, which I am going to be giving away as VCLTs in the near future, some of them. I've already gave one away as a contest prize to Chris Prophy in my 100 subs contest. I'll probably be giving a few more of the 9 test pressings away in the months to come. But this is Lee's Ancient Winter. But that's not the one I wanted to show from Lee. I'm going to show one that I haven't shown before. Like I said, she's a symphonic metal artist, much in the vein of Nightwish and all, Delane and Epica and all these symphonic metal albums. I've shown her the Quest album, which personally was my favorite album of 2019. This is the previous album before that called Kings and Queens. And this was a full double album. A big production. Kings and Queens. Symphonic metal by Lee. Check her out. She is incredible. And support these independent artists. Like I said, she's a Canadian independent symphonic metal artist. And this is Kings and Queens, a fantastic spin. Next up, another artist I've talked about and shown. I think I've shown both these albums at some point. But she is definitely one of the hottest artists right now this year for 2020. Her current album right here, called Future Nostalgia, could end up being my favorite album of 2020. It is still in my top 5 for 2020. It might end up being my favorite album of 2020, a pop masterpiece. And this was, of course, the Super Deluxe Edition, which I showed before, autographed edition, which I have shown before. Which came with a hardcover photo book in it as well. Dua Lipa, the UK synth pop artist, and this album, like I said, is fantastic. I've shown it before, but the one I wanted to show today is this one. For those who have maybe recently discovered Future Nostalgia, definitely go back and check out her debut album from a couple of years ago. And this was the expanded 2-record version. It came out in a single version. This is called the Complete Edition, which is an extra whole disc worth of music. Doubles the length, double the number of songs on this one. Not Future Nostalgia. Dua Lipa, self-titled, the complete edition. Fantastic synth pop artist. Next up, and we're just down to the last couple now. And this artist has been around for a long time. She rose to fame. She's from Australia and rose to fame in the mid-'80s. A pop sensation. And she has continued to make music through the years. I have lots and lots of her albums. Most of her library I have. Has continued to make new music. And unfortunately, I was hoping her brand new album, which I had pre-ordered a website exclusive version of her new album from her website, an autographed version, but it has not arrived yet. I know it's on its way to me. It dropped a couple of weeks ago. The new album is called Disco, which is #2 on the Billboard's most fast rising albums currently, and currently sits in 25th in the top 200 on the Billboard charts in only the first couple of weeks, and it's rising. And the new album is called Disco. The artist is Kylie Minogue, and she just goes by Kylie mostly now. She really doesn't go by Kylie Minogue as much as she just goes by Kylie. But this was her previous album from a couple of years ago, which was kind of a country pop album called Golden. And this was also a website exclusive version that I had gotten, which included the disc here. And it once again included one of these hardcover books, photo books and lyric books. And this is a limited edition. And it also included the CD in the back. Kylie Minogue Golden from a couple of years ago. And just to show one more from Kylie. Her first 4 albums from the mid-'80s to the early '90s were all released a few years ago in these box sets. And these box sets are fantastic, and I think I showed one before. This is her Rhythm of Love album, Rhythm of Love box set, and inside each of the 4 box sets, if you can still get them, you get the album itself, and they're all done in these kind of jackets, and they are all fabulous sounding, once again, fabulous sounding picture discs. But they also include posters and CD versions of the album, plus extra CDs of all the remixes and B-sides are also contained in these box sets. So you get it on vinyl, CD, plus all the remixes. Rhythm of Love, Kylie Minogue. And they have a beautiful booklet too. They also come with a nice booklet. Each one of these 4 box sets comes with a beautiful booklet that talks about the production of each of the album, and then, as you can see in the back, is the CD. So there's 4 of these particular box sets from her first 4 albums out. Maybe one day they'll do some more of them. But Kylie Minogue, definitely one of my favorite artists, top 25 female solo artists of all time. Love her music, and she's doing fantastic with the new Disco album. So check it out, and hopefully in a future video, in the not too distant future, I'll be showing Kylie Minogue's brand new album, Disco. And the last 2 I have to show, or no, one more here, before my honorable mentions. This next one is from an artist that's also risen in just the last couple of years. She's only released 2 albums so far. Her first album spawned the massive, massive single Havana, which was the biggest song of 2018. She was originally from a group, all-female group called Fifth Harmony, but then she left and went on her own and has just blown up since she's gone on her own. Her name's Camila Cabello, and of course Havana was a massive single. This one's a good album. I think this was on a red. This is on a red vinyl. This is a great album, and like I said, Havana was the biggest song of 2018. But then last year she released her second album, which unfortunately didn't do as well, but I like it more than her first album. It's definitely a more personal album by her. It was called Romance, and I got the exclusive website box set edition at the time, which included a whole whack of stuff. Cards, 7-inch singles, picture disc singles, an autographed letter from her. But Romance, a fantastic, I think it's a great album. I personally think it's better than her first album, though I don't think it did as well, unfortunately. But nevertheless, she's definitely an up-and-coming artist you're going to be seeing a lot from over the next couple of years. Camila Cabello. And those are my top 25 female solo artists of all time. 2 more honorable mentions to finish off the video. The first is from an artist by the name of Iggy Azalea. And this album here, the New Classic, one of my favorite hip-hop rap albums of all time. And I'm not big on hip-hop and rap, but this album big time grew on me. Unfortunately, everything she's released since this album, this was her debut album, everything she's released since this album, I'm not a fan of at all, unfortunately, sad to say. But this album, I really, really love. This is a go-to for female artists. I really love this album. It spawned big songs on here, such as Change Your Life, Fancy, which featured Charlie XCX, Black Widow, which featured Rita Ora. Iggy Azalea, the New Classic. So even though I've tried her newer albums and I just don't like them as much, but this one is a great one-off album as far as I'm concerned. And the very last artist I'm going to show, another honorable mention, is an artist who originally was a background vocalist for Black Oak, Arkansas. And from there, she made a solo album under the name of Ruby Jones. Then changed her name to Ruby Star. And it was a video that Naz Nomad showed, or a photo that Naz Nomad posted on his Instagram that reminded me of her, and she sat in my collection, and I kind of forgot about her. But she was an artist that didn't do a whole lot. That's why I'm giving her an honorable mention. She rose, like I said, she had her first solo album in 1971 under the name of Ruby Jones. Sang back up for Black Oak, Arkansas, then released her first album with the group Grey Ghost in 1975. This is her second album from 1976 called Scene Stealer, Ruby Star. She would release one more album after this under Ruby Star called, I can't remember what it was called. I'd have to look in my collection. But she would release another album under Ruby Star in 1977. Then in 1981, she would reform again with another band called Grey Star, where she was the lead vocalist of that. They made one album, Telephone Sex, I think it was called, if I remember right. Telephone Sex under Grey Star. And then unfortunately she died of cancer at the age of 45 in 1995. So an underappreciated star. This album is great. This particular one I'm showing here is great. A lot of different styles on it. I mean, at one point she's sounding like Janis Joplin. And I'm not a big Janis Joplin fan, but I do, I appreciate Janis's talent. But there's Janis Joplin sounding stuff on here. There's good rock sounding on here. Some great funk songs on here. Some covers on here like, McCartney's Maybe Amazed. Really great cover of McCartney's Maybe I'm Amazed. And also the Ronettes' Be My Baby. And, so she covers all sorts of veins. She's got 60s sounding on here. She's got typical 70s rock sounding on here. She's got funk and disco kind of sounding on here. Ruby Star, honorable mention. And the last of my favorite female artists of all time. I hope you enjoyed this video. It went longer than I hoped it was going to go. I was really going to try to get these. I can't get a video in half an hour. I always pick too much to show you guys. I always pick too much to show you guys. But I thank you guys for all that stuck through or skipped your way through the video or watched this video in parts. Thank you all. Thank you to all my subscribers. My subscriber counts keep going up every single day. I can't believe all the outpouring of love I've had for my channel. It's really humbling. Thank you, everybody. I will see you next week in another video. Coming soon will be another female-based video because, like I said, I opened a can of worms when I did those favorite bands from A to Z video that made me want to do this, best female, my favorite female solo artists. And I will do another one that covers female fronted bands in the near future because there's quite a few great female fronted bands, and I excluded female fronted bands for this video, but there's lots of great female fronted bands out there, as like Blondie and Heart and so on and so forth. So we'll be talking about those in a future video. I don't know if that'll be next week or not. I haven't really decided what next week's video is going to be yet. Thank you for sticking it with this long video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you took something away from it, and maybe I've inspired you to try some artists that you maybe never thought of trying before. As always, please like this video if you liked it. If you don't like it, then don't like the video. But I hope you like it and you give it a thumbs up, because thumbs ups always make a person feel good. So if you like the video, give it a thumbs up. Comments are always welcome down below. I really always enjoy reading your guys' comments. Try to respond to all of them and appreciate all the comments. It's the only way you make better videos. And of course, turn that notification bell on so you're notified when I make a new video. Though I do try to make these videos every Tuesday, every Monday or Tuesday, mostly Tuesdays. I try to release a new episode every Tuesday. And of course, last but not least, follow me on Instagram at AGK_Lifetime of Vinyl, where I post my spin of the day every day. And that's it. That's all. That's everything. Thanks for sticking with me. Love all you guys out there. And as I always say, rock and roll.